Hunting a stone. It was 2011 and I was in Poland with my parents, visiting our ancestral towns. We were in Częstochowa, home to a famous Catholic pilgrimage site in one of the country's largest Jewish communities before the war. The goal for the day was to find the Jewish cemetery and locate my third great grandfather Herschel. We started by getting lost, eventually ending up by an aluminum factory close to the river bordering town. A Polish Wilford Brimley in overalls and a trucker hat confirmed that the cemetery was on the other side. To cross the river, we had to duck under gigantic steam pipes and cross a railroad trestle. My dad remarked that only I would consider something like this a vacation. On our way in, we passed a young man pushing a wheelbarrow full of wood. I said Dzień dobry, but he ignored me. We came to a clearing with a stone wall, an open gate, and a small bus. We had found it. I said Dzień dobry to the driver. Hi, he said. It turned out he was co-leading an Israeli school group doing a cleanup. I told him we were looking for a grave. Years earlier, I had found part of the cemetery data online, recorded by an Israeli researcher named Benny. He had the grave number and even a picture of Herschel's grave. I had been amazed and excited, though somewhat less so after a friend pointed out the stone was lying on its side. I had brought a picture of the tombstone along with a map. With all that preparation, I assumed it couldn't be that hard. The driver pointed us in the approximate direction and went back to his bus. Good luck, he said, doubtfully. As my parents and I stepped through the gate, I realized what he meant. I had been in old cemeteries in New York before, but nothing like this. The forest had taken over. In places, the trees were so dense you could barely see the sky. Still, I started hunting. We had the grave number and a picture, so I figured that had to help. But soon I was feeling a pit in my stomach. There were no numbers on any of the stones. Only about a third were left standing. The others were jutting out at impossible angles from the ground, if they weren't lying face down and overgrown. There weren't even any paths. You could only get from one place to another by walking on the toppled stones. Every step I took, I was either stepping on someone's tombstone or their grave itself, and that bothered me. This was supposed to be about respect. I didn't realize this would be so hard, I said. I felt embarrassed at my naivete, realizing we had come all this way without any actual plan for finding the grave. This is looking for a needle in a pile of needles. We'd need a miracle to find him here. My mother's family were Kohanim, descended from the priestly family of Aaron, so I tried to look for two hands with fingers extended in what most of the world considers a Vulcan salute. But I quickly saw there were just too many graves and too much forest. Even worse, the distinctive three-petaled flower in the corner of Herschel's grave was apparently a popular option in town. I was feeling overwhelmed. I was close to tears. I had wasted all our time. My mom said she was going to go ask the students for help. I was resistant and still angry with myself. I felt like it was nice that they were cleaning up the place, but that didn't mean that they were going to be able to help me find one grave out of thousands. I should have been able to find it myself. I was supposed to be the researcher. I was supposed to be the one who knew what they were doing. I should have planned better. It felt hopeless. But my mom walked over and chatted them up anyway. They went and got their teacher, Dina. She was a native New Yorker, and she and my mom, from Brooklyn, immediately hit it off. Dina said they were from a high school in Jerusalem and had been coming to Poland to clean up cemeteries and to archive the data. My ears perked up. I told her we were looking for a grave Benny had cataloged. She sighed. He had no system. You'll never find it. But if you're lucky, we might have already documented it. As she fired up her laptop, my dad said this was an incredible coincidence. Dina shot back, I don't believe in coincidences. Within minutes, she had found the spot. Sure enough, Herschel was in the Kohanim section. We followed her back to where we had started, but this time went much further from the main path, by the far wall. We hunted for about 30 minutes in the tall grass, first going one way, then doubling back and trying another. Dina and I were far ahead of my parents now. Did you say 702? She asked. Yes. Well, this is 703. Does that mean he's close? Maybe. With Benny, who knows? I felt my whole body clench. The thought that after all this we might still not find him hurt to contemplate. The trees were so dense and low I had to crouch. The ground was covered in brambles and thorns. The grass was taller than me, but out of the corner of my eye I saw a shape, a stone lying on its side with a triangular corner, leaning against a tree just like in my picture. I ran over and around the side, scanning the stone, the corner flowers, the angle of the stone against the tree, the fingers splayed into two priestly V's. My Hebrew was basic, but I could sight read enough to confirm the inscription. Svi Hirsch Ben Mir HaKohen. Herschel, my ancestor. I found him! I cried. They all came running. Dina read off this tombstone and confirmed it. We had him. I got to work scraping off the moss with a wireless card from the airport, then using my hand, rubbing the sandstone till my fingers were raw. Dina gave me some chalk to rub on the inscription, making the letters pop. It had taken me 10 years to get there. 10 years of gently nudging my parents to make the trip. 10 years of hoping and cajoling to get us to the cemetery, to now finding the stone. There were times I thought it would never happen. Herschel was the only ancestor of the grave we'd been able to find, the only physical proof our family had been on this soil for over 150 years. Back at the gate, Dina gave me a memorial candle and we all said the Kaddish prayer together in a wide circle. Thank you, I whispered. As we left, she mentioned this was their last day in town, and I felt goosebumps. We had almost saved this visit for tomorrow. If we hadn't come that day, we would have never found the grave. We weren't the kind of people who believed in fate, but as Dina said, sometimes the separation between their world and ours is not so big. Thank you.